How's it going, everybody? So for today's video, we're doing the next installment in the series on improving chess tactics. So in this video, we're going to look at some tactics in the 1800 to 2000 rating range on chess.com's tactics trainer. And before we get started, I just want to mention some things I've mentioned in other videos. First of all, I think tactics are incredibly important for those of us who are basically 2000 and less. I mean, they're important for every level of chess, but especially below 2000 because games are won and lost in tactical swings, especially the lower you go down the rating ladder. So outside of playing long games, analyzing your long games, looking at good annotated games by chess masters, I think tactics are one of the biggest things we can do to improve our chess. And again, as I've said in other videos, when you're solving these sorts of problems, I would go for accuracy over speed. I would set myself a time limit. Again, my philosophy is at least 5 minutes. Look at the problem for at least 5 minutes, unless you're sure you've got it right before you make a move. And yeah, so I would think when you're being sufficiently challenged, you're probably going to end up getting something like 60 to 70% correct. If you're getting a smaller percentage correct, you're probably going too fast. So yeah, with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it and see what we get today with the 1800 to 2000 range. So in this problem, I see that we're down a pawn. I see also that they have this battery lined up on our king, but we've got it somewhat neutralized with the queen helping out with the defense of the b7 points. Okay, so my first thought is rook takes d1, king takes d1, queen takes d4. If they go back to c1, then queen d1 is mate. If they go to after we trade on d1 and then play queen takes d4, if they go to e1, queen d1 is mate. So the square that we're concerned about is queen takes d4, king to e2. And there, I think the solution is queen e4 check, and our queen will be taking, after queen e4 check, when the king is on e2, our queen will be taking away these squares, the rook will be taking away these squares, and wherever the king goes, I mean, especially if they go to f1, well, they can't go to e1, the queen has got that, but when they go to f1, then rook d1 is mate. So yeah, I believe that works. Alright, good stuff. That was 1888. Okay, so it looks like we're up a piece, but our knight is being attacked. Our bishop is also being attacked twice. So yeah, it looks like we got a lot of pieces hanging. And also, yeah, sorry, this is also hanging. Yeah, this is just like a melee of hanging pieces. I think the rook hanging is the first thing that definitely needs to be addressed. Yeah, this problem might be somewhat defensive in nature because we're up a piece. And defensive problems I found they seem to be trickier than offensive problems. Okay, so first things first, let's try knight f7. If king h7, bishop takes is with check. So we solve a couple of hanging pieces there they could take. Then we could take here with check and be defending our rook. So that line looks promising. Knight f7, king to g8. Knight f7, king to g8. Knight h6 check. Knight h6 check. If g takes h6, that just seems probably unnecessary. Yeah, there's the other thing we gotta remember is if this rook comes off of the back rank here, then they do have queen a1, which is very annoying as well. Although, if we play, say, rook takes e4, and they play queen a1, rook e1 is not, I mean, it just covers everything and actually just wins a bishop. They can take our knight, but again, we're already up a piece. So let's try rook takes e1, d takes e1. Probably, yeah, queen takes, sorry, did I say e1? Rook takes e4, d takes e4. Queen takes e4 when we're threatening checkmate, and they wouldn't have time to play this. So maybe that's it. I actually kind of like that. Because we're also threatening after rook takes e4, we're also threatening because the knight carries these, or takes these two squares away from the king. We're threatening just to play queen e1, rook takes e1, rook takes e1, which would be checkmate. So rook takes, wow. So rook takes e4. They couldn't play queen takes c2 because of that mate and 2 threat. So I do think rook takes e4, d takes e4 is pretty much forced when, again, there's queen takes e4. If they try queen a1, we have bishop b1. We're still threatening mate. Yeah, that feels pretty good to me. Let's go for it. Okay, good stuff. 1958. All right. So we have even material, we're down a pawn. Double check situation. So we have both of these guys, which are double check. Okay, so I think it's going to be this one. And again, if you're not aware, whenever you have a situation where two of your pieces are checking the opponent's king, the result is that the opponent's king has to move. So after knight e7 check, king to h8 is forced. Knight takes g6, check, h takes g6. maybe, no. Oh, this is cool. Never mind. So, knight e7 check. Um, Again, like I said, king h8 is forced. And then we have queen g8 supported by the knight. The king cannot take on g8, so rook takes g8 is forced. So now the king is on h8, the rook is on g8. These two pawns are here. We play knight takes g6, h6 g6 is forced. And then we have rook h4, which is checkmate. Yeah, that's a pretty little checkmate. All right, 1866. Okay, so endgame. Bishop and rook versus bishop. First thing that I register is that this rook is on the same square as my, or same color square as my bishop, so it suggests possible attacks somewhere. I also noticed that I'm taking these squares away from the king, and so if I play rook a7, I would be threatening rook h7, which would be checkmate. The king can't go back this way, that doesn't help them. So rook a7, I think probably they'll play rook b4 check when we still have bishop to e4 with the same threats that we're taking those squares away from the king, and we're still threatening rook h7 checkmate. And I think they'll take us on e4. We'll take back and just have a rook and king versus a king, which of course is totally winning. So yeah, I do believe this is right. Let's just check it again. Rook a7. We're taking away these squares, and now the rook is taking away this square and this square from the king. And we're threatening rook h7 mate. Pretty sure they're going to play rook b4 check. We have, sorry. Oh, okay, that was, I totally hit too many mouse moves there. Yeah, so anyway, I hit the left click when I meant to right click. Sorry. So I did not get this wrong. We'll see that this is correct. Rook a7. Yep, they check us. There we go. They take. So again, that's what I said. I had a mouse slip. I did this in a game that I played recently. I hit the left click when I meant to hit the right click. I've got to stop doing things like that. That totally is not good. But you guys heard me say it before the mouse slip. Okay, so interesting one there. We'll go on to the next one here. Let's see what we've got. All right, looks like they have an extra minor piece. One extra minor piece compared to us. It looks like we have knight takes f7, which again is a double check. So the king would have to move. The king goes here. We play queen h6, but then they just take on f7. So maybe that's not the way to go. But what about this double, or what about this check? That's actually interesting. So knight f5 check. We're taking away this square from the king. The only move is rook takes h5. When we play rook takes h5, and that is going to be checkmate. The king has no squares. Let's just make sure it works. Knight f5, taking away this square from the king. Rook takes h5, rook takes h5, taking away these squares. The king has got nowhere to go. That's checkmate. Okay. $19.57 on that one. Okay, let's see what we've got here. It looks to be pretty much even material, although it looks like we're down a couple pawns. So we're down 2 pawns. Alright, so first move I'm really considering is G takes f7 check. Forking king and rook. Looks like king takes f7 is pretty forced. I don't know that I'm seeing a follow-up after that though. What about taking this way? Maybe they just play king h8. Doesn't seem terribly compelling. So then I also start looking at captures like this. We've got two ways to recapture. That doesn't seem to be very compelling. Let's go back to this. G takes f7 check. King takes f7, pretty much forced, otherwise you're losing a rook. Then I jump to ideas like knight takes e6, rook takes e6, bishop takes. Looks like that might be good. So again, in this resulting position, there's a bishop here, a rook here, a king here. We've won 2 pawns, given up a knight, and looks like we're going to be winning a rook. So looks like we should be getting 2 pawns and a rook for a knight. I think so. So yeah, let's check this out again. G takes f7, king takes f7, knight takes, and the forcing nature here is that it hits this guy. They don't have to take us, they could just move the queen, but again, let's just assume they take on e6. Bishop takes d5. Bishop takes d5, pinning the rook to the king. Yeah, that looks like a really precarious situation for white. The only thing I want to check is G takes f7, king takes f7, knight takes e6. What if the queen can't go here because the rook is covering this, the bishop is covering this, the knight is going to be covering those 2 squares. So the queen would have to come here if the queen moves. That's the idea. And then, yeah, nah. I was thinking bishop c5, then knight takes c5. Also maybe rook e1 in that position. It's threatening discoveries on the queen. Threatening like knight g5, check, hitting the queen. Yeah, that looks really bad. I'm pretty sure this is right. Yeah, so they're going for the rook capture. Okay. 1938. Okay. Alright, so endgame kind of looking problem. Oh yeah, this is kind of sick looking. Um, so the rook is basically walling off these two squares from the king. So if we play the forcing move, rook h7 check, king takes h7 is forced. When there's knight f6 check, and again with the rook walling this off, king h8 is forced, and with the knight on f6, rook takes g8 is checkmate because the rook covers these squares and the knight covers that square. Yeah, that's pretty. Alright, let's go for this. Alright, 1904 on that one. Okay, so the first thing I look at is the attacks here on f2 by these two pieces, but this knight is defending. So then I start to look at moves like this, the bishop maybe defends that way. So what if this knight, because it's being annoying, what if we just, whoa, what if we try to kick it with f5? f5, that looks interesting. If the knight moves, again, probably knight takes f2, just forking these two. Does the knight have a good square to go to? Definitely not a square where it can defend f2. I don't see other good squares either. I mean, I could try to block the bishop, but we'll just take it. After we play f5, do they have other moves they could try to do? I mean, if they don't move their knight, we're just taking their knight. But do they have other moves that are a bigger threat, like maybe attacking our queen? I don't see anything like that. They do have this check, but we could just play this, at which point they would have the queen and the knight hanging. So that can't be good for them. Yeah, I do think f5 is correct, and I'm not seeing a major refutation of it. So let's go for it. Wow, okay, so I didn't consider this queen attack. Yeah, I kind of wrote it off too quickly. Okay, so now I'm wondering, bishop takes f2, king d2. If we tried like knight takes f2 and they did bishop takes d8, knight takes d1, looks like we're just sort of trading material. They would have two pieces hanging. What if just queen d7, just getting out of the way of the attack, and still we're threatening this, we're threatening this. I think that might be good. Queen d7, getting out of the way of the attack. There's only one way to get the queen out of the way of the attack, so that's good in terms of tactical problems. You're usually just going to have one solution. We have, again, 2 threats. Yeah, I think this looks good. Oh no, played it too fast. Yeah, so this is a really instructive example of playing too fast. So I had sort of, you know, in my head just thought, okay, I'm going to play knight takes f2. And this move came up, and I didn't even think about the position again. Because, yeah, it's a really instructive example that you have to keep thinking until the end. Okay, so what is the solution here then? Yeah, I can't do this because the knight is still guarding this. So yeah, this is the solution. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so instructive moment there. All right, 1, 2, 3. First thing that comes to my mind is this check, which is threatening discoveries on their queen. Let's say we take, they take back the knight. We take, hitting their queen. Okay. This is like, I think they call this like Boden's mate or something. If they move their queen, say, I don't know, queen to g7, then we have queen takes c6, b takes c6, bishop a6, and with the bishop covering here, this bishop covering here, that's going to be checkmate. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, let's go for that. Okay, so we're going to get to do it. Nice. Alright, looks like we have even material. We have a knight that looks to be hanging here. This is also a possibility. Okay, so if we take here, they have a check. The bishop is covering g7. And h8, of course. Cover all the way down here. If we try to play king to h7, then this move, e5, unleashes this bishop. So that looks kind of scary for the black king. If we take on h5, they play queen g3 check. We can't play bishop g7 blocking because it'll just take it with checkmate. So this kind of suggests to me that this is the move to make. Well, again, we have even material. Yeah, again, let's just make sure this is not good for black. G takes h5. Queen g3 check. We can't block on g7. They'll just take it with checkmate. We can't go to g7 or h8 because of the dark squared bishop. So we go to h7. They play e5, hitting our queen with their bishop. And yeah, that just looks to be too much. So yeah, this looks to be the way to go. So let's go for it. Okay, here, I think we're just gonna trade off knights. Let's not be too quick like I was on that problem a couple problems ago. Knight takes, queen takes. That looks scary. It does look scary. Because they'd be threatening mate on h8. And again, I can't block on g7. We don't want to... We can't go here because the knight is attacking it. And we don't really want to go on either of these squares because the bishop is hitting those. So if we do take it, queen takes, how do you get out of checkmate? Hmm. Okay, maybe the idea is takes f6, queen takes f6, and then, wow, like rook to e5, just interrupting the connection between bishop and queen. That looks kind of nuts, but it might work. If they try like f4, hitting the rook. Oh, don't move pieces. Sorry, I'm starting to click with the wrong mouse button. If they try f4, then we have bishop g7 hitting the queen, and I think we're just in time there. So yeah, I think this works. Okay, we're gonna get to test it out. I think that this is right. Yeah, you think it's just taking a rook, but they keep coming at you with interesting nuances. Yeah, I do think that this is all that black has to stop queen h8 checkmate. Let's go for it. Okay, so basically just trading down in exchange. So we were up a rook, we lost an exchange, but still we won 3 points of material. So it says here on the theme that this is defense. And again, I've said this before, specifically ones where we have to pull our king out of like multiple checks from a queen. Those seem to be hard for me. And then I think I share what a lot of people share, which is defense, playing effective, accurate defense, especially in complex tactical situations. I find those kind of problems to be pretty hard too. All right, so I think we might just do one more here, and we'll see what we've got. The first thing I noticed is this bishop is taking these squares away. Looks like we have an even material situation. So if we played knight d5, we would be threatening this check, which would force queen takes c7, queen takes c7, winning a queen for a knight. But of course, if we play knight d5, they can play e takes d5. And do we have something after that? I'm not really seeing anything. If we tried the same thing in this direction, looks like they just take this way. Yeah, it doesn't look like that's working either. Bishop f4 hitting the queen, just queen takes f4. Then we would have queen takes c8, king e7. Yeah, that doesn't look to do it either. King. I was wondering for a second there if castling and bringing the rook to bear on f7 might do anything. I'm not seeing anything. Let's go back to this knight d5, e takes d5. Not seeing anything there either. Bishop takes a6. Bishop takes a6. That doesn't seem convincing. The resulting position doesn't seem to offer anything of any significance. Queen takes c8, queen takes c8. Our bishop is hanging also. This bishop. So even if a move like knight d5 say worked, they could just play h takes g5. Let's go back to this move. Bishop f4, queen takes f4, queen takes c7, king e7. We've traded bishops. And their king somewhat exposed, but our king is somewhat exposed. Oh no. Okay, so queen takes e6, f takes e6. Just bishop h5. Again, the bishop, to my original point, is protecting those guys. The only move they have is bishop or g6, and bishop takes g6. That's gonna be checkmate. Yeah, I do think this works. Alright, so I had to look at that one for a little bit. Okay, so good session. Yeah, another video where I got 10 problems right, missed that one because I was just being way too fast. I mentioned originally in that problem the knight was guarding f2, and we sort of made several moves, and I got distracted away from it. They made kind of a nothing move that I was like, okay, fine, I'll just play this thing. I think that was at least instructive. Like, had I taken like 10, 15 seconds to analyze the new position, I should not have missed that, because it relied on ideas that I already mentioned. So yeah, hopefully that's instructive for you guys. When you see a new move sort of come on the board, make sure that it doesn't change things drastically. Make sure to remember your original ideas. Make sure everything checked out. Because yeah, I mean, if you're just inaccurate for a second, you can have everything correct in terms of the ideas. You could have played 4 or 5 moves correctly, but still ultimately get the problem wrong. So yeah, I hope you guys got something out of this session. For those of you at this tactical rating range, and those of you aspiring to get to this level, let me know in the comments section what you think, and we'll be looking to come out with the next video here. I think we'll do 2000 through 2200 next. And until then, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot.